as a Politics Home report here. Chris Williamson is back in the Labour Party. Now, let me just set something up on the other screen while I'm here. Because there's somebody... We'll do it now while it's streaming because it'll probably jitter. So, Chris Williamson of anti-Semitism. The controversial Derby North MP. Controversial? Yeah, controversy over nothing if you ask me. But was suspended in February over a pattern of behaviour, they said, going back months. But that was lifted on Wednesday by a 3-person NEC panel on anti-Semitism, despite a recommendation from party staff that he be referred to the next stage of the disciplinary process. So there's party staff wanting to actually go to the next stage of the disciplinary process, but he's back. He was instead issued with a formal warning instead after being found to have breached the party's rules. A Labour source said he could face further more severe action if he... So this is what Chris Williamson said on Twitter. He said, "I'd like to express my heartfelt thanks for the avalanche of goodwill messages from grassroots members. I can now focus on representing local people in Derby North excuse me, and working for a Corbyn-led Labour government to positively transform the lives of millions. Together, anything is possible." So that sounds great, doesn't it? That's a wonderful tweet. Together we can transform the lives of millions. John Lansman didn't think so from Momentum. I haven't got that tweet lined up, but he didn't think so. He thought, he said, oh, there's not this statement. It's there, it's on the screen. I'm not going to read it because it's Tom Watson. And you know it's going to be full of bullshit and it's only going to be one side of the story. And you know that everything that Tom Watson's going to be doing is trying to chop the legs from under the Labour Party. So I'm not going to read it. What I will do, though, is I'll point you to all those members who have signed that letter calling for Chris Williamson to be booted out of the Labour Party. Basically what he's calling for there. And that's all the people from the Labour Party who have signed that letter. I'll leave a copy of that below, actually, for anybody. I'll put it on my website later on if I get a chance. This is what one of the reporters said at the time from the Canary. He said this today. Chris Williamson is a fantastic MP. I don't think he's anti-Semitic. However, I respect his critics and it's come to a point where I think he's doing more harm than good being in the party. We have plenty of good socialists ready to take his place. Time to move on from this. Respect his critics, says Nathan Griffiths. Of the Canary, remember. Respects his critics. It's critics who wrongly accused Chris Williamson of being an anti-Semite and have wrongly smeared him constantly ever since. Nathan Griffiths respects his critics who's done that. I don't respect his critics who have done that because they've done it on purpose. Nathan Griffiths, you have no background. Now, when Chris Williamson was suspended from the Labour Party, obviously I was very angry at the time. I was screaming at the screen. I said it was a witch hunt, and pretty much everything I have seen since, especially with regards to Tom Watson and the journalists and, of course, the BBC, has proven, with the BBC's help, of course, this is censorship of free speech by the state. This is what this is. This is why it's so much of a big deal, because he's back in the party and they didn't expect this. They wanted him to be booted out. He's, remember, somebody who's talked constantly about the OPCW, about, you know, Russiagate being nonsense. He's asked a lot of questions about the Duma incident in Syria, which led to that OPCW report being suppressed that Chris has asked questions about in the House of Commons. He's been excellent. He's been brilliant on Venezuela. So it's no wonder that the establishment want to shut him up. And people like that, making stupid statements like that on Twitter, make me wonder what the hell is going on there. I haven't got the comment count on that, but it's got something like 28 likes and about 300 comments. Yeah, that's been ratioed to hell. So over 100 have signed that letter demanding that Chris Williamson has, you know, get ejected from the Labour Party for doing nothing wrong. Get ejected from the Labour Party, essentially because a lot of people don't like the fact that he's talking, you know, the truth. He's asking questions that highlight the establishment and the country lying to the public. Is it any wonder? Is it any wonder trying to shut him up? Not everybody can see through this. People can see through this, and Labour Party members can see through this. People who support Jeremy Corbyn can see through this. Remember, I'm not a Labour supporter member, and I'm certainly not a Jeremy Corbyn supporter. I'm certainly not. I like Jeremy Corbyn's policies, but he let Chris Williamson get thrown under the bus, if you ask me, and he lost my support then. However, the Labour supporters can get this back. Now, I want to show you, before I go into that, I want to show you this video from somebody I've been following on Twitter, Cornish Gamer, for quite a while. Yeah, he's a great guy, and he's well up to speed on this. He probably knows more about it than me, to be fair. And he did a little video about this earlier today, just explaining the situation, explaining what's gone on this week. He said Chris Williamson has been cleared of anti-Semitism, but our free and fearless press had already deemed him guilty, giving the usual suspects an opportunity to attack him. Put in context, though, why are the Tories getting treated differently on racism? Well, we know this is because we've got a mockingbird media. I'm just going to play this.
So last night's Question Time lineup was a horror show. Two Blairite has-beens, a half-witted Tory Boris supporter, a mouthpiece for Rupert Murdoch, and the guy who runs Iceland whose father's a known Tory donor. It was a Corbyn attack fest, but I want to talk about the reinstatement of Chris Williamson, which featured prominently, with the entire panel and audience fixated on the opinion that the judgment handed down was wrong. Chris was suspended in February after claiming the party had been too apologetic over anti-Semitism. Labour has faced many allegations of anti-Semitism in its ranks, and since then new procedures have been put in place which include independent, impartial verification and the acceptance of the IRA definition of anti-Semitism by the party. To say Labour have not taken the issue seriously, to say they haven't acted upon allegations, is really disingenuous. But despite these new procedures being enacted in Chris Williamson's case, there have been outcry by the usual suspects within the party, aided and abetted by the BBC, as seen last night. Chris was found guilty of breaching party rules, and his comment, clearly a jab at his own party, was seen as a rule breach.
That's what he was found guilty of. Criticising his own party. That's what he was found guilty of. I thought it was weird. Hold on a minute, he's been found guilty and they've let... No, that's what he was found guilty of criticising his own party, which is a breach of their rules. Wasn't found guilty of anti-Semitism.
However, there's nothing anti-Semitic in what he said, and accusations that he's a Jew hater and that Corbyn by association must be too are disgusting. New procedures are in place. Independent barristers cleared him, not just an NEC panel. These are
independent barristers cleared him, not just an NEC
professionals
panel.
with reputations to uphold. They aren't the sort of people to not go by the book. Yet still, despite everything Labour does, the accusations remain, both from within the party and without. Are Labour too apologetic for this? Well, let's look at the treatment the Tories got over Islamophobia last night. It's a subject skipped over in about 2 minutes. Labour's problems were on the agenda, the governing party gets a free pass again, and that's despite, in a leadership hustings, Sajid Javid getting all candidates to agree to an independent inquiry, but this has now been downgraded to a general investigation, and Boris Johnson has said he won't bother with one at all. Why should Labour, despite bending over backwards to deal with the scourge of anti-Semitism, continue to get slammed, whilst the Tories get away with racist comments from the man they'll probably inflict on the country as the next PM, or polls showing 43% of their members don't want a Muslim for Prime Minister? Johnson even called the French turds it's emerged this morning during a filming of a BBC documentary, and at the Tories' request they just edited it out. Frankly, the double standards should be what gets everyone enraged, but it certainly winds me up, as do the constant calls for Corbyn to step in. He's democratised Labour. The days of Tony Blair acting like a dictator are over. Labour procedures put the Tories to shame, but do not expect that to be told to you by the BBC.
Well said, Cornish Gamer. Well said. He's actually started a YouTube channel. The link is underneath, and you can follow him on Twitter. He's great. Yeah, Corbyn has democratised the Labour Party, and that's the second bit of good news with regards to this story. This is from Politics Home. Now, this was on the 28th rather. The MPs calling for... No, this is today, sorry. So this is today. This is just to say that those MPs are calling for Chris Williamson to be ejected from the party. Now, that I showed you at the beginning, because it was Craig Murray who actually spotted something, and it was Craig Murray who alerted me, at least, to that reselection process that Jenny Formby spoke about at the beginning of this of this stream. He said this, Craig Murray did in his article. Regrettably, Labour MPs do not automatically have to run for re-selection against other potential party candidates. But, and I've highlighted the important part here, remember all this is going on with Chris Williamson. They want to get rid of Chris Williamson, remember. You got to ask, why are these wagons circling now? You know, why is there such a media circus around it now? Is it so that people don't find out about this? Is it so the Labour members get consumed by, you know, their hate for this smear campaign against Chris Williamson that they don't figure out what, hold on a minute, there's a prime opportunity here to actually make a huge difference. I've highlighted it. Under one of those hideous compromises that's so beloved at Labour Party conferences, they have to notify their intention to again be the party's candidate for the constituency. This is what I was talking about at the beginning. This is that process that was triggered on the 25th, on Monday. They have to notify their intention to again be the party's candidate for the constituency, and there is then a brief window of a couple of weeks in which local branches and trade union branches can register a contest and force a challenge. That process has now been triggered, and it is, quote, essential, he says in capital letters. I would definitely co-sign onto that, that every Labour Party member reading this right now and watching this video right now, therefore, try and get rid of those Blairite MPs. If you do not act, the historic moment will be missed, and the chance to move England and Wales away from neoliberalism may be permanently surrendered. And that's why this article in Politics Home on the 25th of June is so important, and that's on Tuesday. Jenny Formby started this process at the beginning of this week, and we're now at the end of the week, so you have 1 week, Labour Party members, just 1 week to actually get what you've wanted. All your Christmases come at once. These Blairite MPs deselected. Here's your chance. You've got a week. I suggest, now I want to actually, yeah, I didn't, here it is. Here's the Politics Home article. Labour MPs in purge fear as they are given 2-week re-selection headline. Sorry, I thought it was at the beginning of this stream then. Labour MPs have been given 2 weeks to decide whether they want to stand at the general election, sparking fears that they could be purged by Jeremy Corbyn supporters. In a surprise move, Labour General Secretary Jenny Formby wrote to all MPs on Monday confirming the party is now on a general election footing. She said today the NEC officers met and agreed the procedural guidelines for reselection of sitting members of Parliament. The first stage is to collate the intentions of sitting MPs. I am therefore willing to ask you to inform the Labour Party if you wish to remain a candidate of the next general election. There it is. She's asked them on Monday. 2-week process, so you got 1 more week now. The MPs were asked to fill in a form and return it to the party's legal department. Miss Formby added, may I also take this opportunity to thank you for your work you have done so far in the party and Parliament, but one Labour MP told Politics Home, quote, given the Labour leadership keep talking about general election, they have to start the reselection process for MPs. However, many MPs will see this as a purge process. That's exactly what it is. I'm telling you right now, that's exactly what this is. This is an opportunity for a purge of the Blairites. Get on it. It's within the rules. Last year, the party agreed to change its trigger ballot process to make it easier for members to try and unseat sitting MPs. That led to the claims that backers of Mr Corbyn would use the new procedures to get rid of MPs who have been critical of the Labour leadership. Yes, exactly. That's called a democratic process. It's not a purge, it's democracy. Politics Home revealed last week that moderate Labour MPs were given lessons on how to avoid being deselected. Moderate Labour MPs. In other words, yeah, red Tories. The seminar, organised by Tom Watson's Future Britain Group, why does that not surprise me, was designed to give colleagues the chance to share their local strategies for preparing the trigger ballots and was held on Monday night. One former shadow cabinet member says, it shows you the state of the Labour Party when the MPs have to receive advice on how to avoid being purged by the far left. I know, it's incredible. Which brings me back to this article by Craig Murray, because at the bottom of his article that he sort of highlighted this to a lot of people, including myself. He had a call to arms. I'm going to read this out to you and just explain to you just how important this is and why it's got to be done now. It's got to be done now. There is no excuse. This is your chance this next week. And this is why you need to act. And how? Phone the chair of your local constituency today and demand that they tell you to go about forcing a reselection battle. Make sure that they give you the phone numbers for any local branches or institutions you have to go through. If you do not know the phone number of your local constituency chair, phone Labour headquarters and get them to tell you. If you are a member of an affiliated trade union or organisation, take action there too. Of course, you can start the process with your local CLP and with your union as well if you're in one. Do not be put off. Do not follow any instruction from anyone. And this is something that I really want to make clear. Don't follow instruction from anybody. Momentum, Owen Jones, none of them. Nobody. Follow instruction from me in that you go on, but not as to which MP gets deselected. Listen, you've only got about 40 or 50 good ones in the Labour Party. The chances are, if you're in the Labour Party, get your MP deselected, or at least start the process. Obviously, unless you know that unless you live in the Islington constituency where Jeremy Corbyn is, maybe not. Well, you could do. Who knows? But just do it with them all, I would suggest. Do not be put off. Do not follow any instruction from anyone, not even Momentum, especially not Momentum. They are not on your side, Labour Party. They really are not. I have been watching them for a year now, and everything that they have done just says to me that they are not progressive. They picketed outside David Icke's home because they said he was anti-Semite, because he doesn't like the fact that Israel bombs innocent Palestinians. They picketed outside David Icke's home rather than a couple of miles down the road where Julian Assange was at the time, still locked up in the Ecuadorian embassy. Momentum are not your friends. About MPs who ought not to be challenged, forget it. They will say, oh, no, don't challenge Tom Watson. They'll say, don't challenge Ruth Smeeth. You know? Politics is a dirty game and full of dirty deals, and they use the dirty tricks all the time, don't they? The Tom Watsons and the ilk. They always use that. They have no problem using the underhand dirty tricks and then do it with a smile on their face and lie straight to you. This is within your rights. Don't let them put you off by saying this is a purge. Say, yes, it's a purge, and we're going to purge you. Certainly any of the Labour MPs who abstained on Tory welfare cuts, failed to oppose the hostile environment immigration policy, or voted to bomb Syria must be subject to challenge. Hear, hear, Craig Murray. I would recommend that you challenge any friend of Israel, given that Israel is now openly an apartheid state. Yes, I totally co-sign on to that. If you're in Labour and they're a friend of Israel, get them out, get them deselected, get on onto your where is it, your local constituency, and demand that you fire that they give you some sort of process to force a reselection battle. Progress reports in the comment section would be extremely welcome, he said. Yeah, please do in the comment section of this as well. Got to get rid of these Blairites. You've got to get rid of these Blairites, Labour, otherwise you've got no chance of a Jeremy Corbyn government, none whatsoever. And it's unsurprising to me that this has happened all at the same time that Chris Williamson is invited back into, is allowed back into the Labour Party, because he's definitely the most progressive voice in that party, without a doubt. He's right on the issues. He really is. And you need him, you need people like him to be representing your constituencies and your PLP, rather than people like Tom Watson and CIA informant, CIA protected source Ruth Smeeth. She's a protected source for the CIA. WikiLeaks. revealed that. I'm just going to quickly go to the chat because just to make sure that I haven't missed any in that part. Super chat. Without a doubt. He's right. Yeah, there's no super chats, but yeah, that's it for the time being. Hopefully I made sense of that. I think I cocked up this in the middle of it. I didn't have the proper report set up at the middle, but hopefully, yeah, it made it through and you understood it. Get those Blairites out. Honestly, just get them out. They are the people who are standing in the way here of a socialist government. It's those Blairites, it's the Tom Watsons of the Labour Party that are standing in the way of your socialist movement that you want to see come. Remember, largest socialist movement in Europe, isn't it, Labour? Get onto your constituency. Start this process. Get them deselected. Honestly, please, don't make me beg you. Thanks very much for watching. Thanks very much for all your support. Please make sure you subscribe. Please make sure you click the bell below so you get a notification of when I drop further videos. And I'm going to be doing videos all day today by the look of it. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you soon. Peace.